Hi Virgo, my name is Audrey Allison. Thanks for joining me for your April 2016 forecast for the month. I've got a lot happening here to my right with the stars. There's a ton of personal planet retrogrades, actually just planetary retrogrades. I've got the cards here. I'm using the Alchemical deck by Robert M. Place, my steadfast deck. And thank you for joining me. Thank you for subscribing to this channel. I appreciate your support, and as well on my Facebook page, Audrey, Alison Astrology and Tarot. Let's start at the top of the month. On the 5th of April, Venus, planet of love and money, enters Aries in your 8th house of shared resources, the 8th house of other people's money, of intimacy, of sex, of death, of intensity. The 8th house is a pretty serious house, naturally governed by Scorpio on the solar wheel. When Venus enters this sector, she activates the fire signs in Sagittarius that are currently there, like Mars, like a retrograde Saturn. So this energy of Venus will trine both Mars and Saturn in your 4th house in Sagittarius. So the 8th and 4th and 12th houses are the most quiet, are the most spiritual. And Venus is a smoothing over and a balance and such a beautiful harmony that it might bring a harmony to your intimate relationships, or if you're looking for a partnership, this is a good time to be seen in the top half of April before your ruling planet Mercury goes retrograde at the end of the month. On the same day, on the 5th of April, Mercury makes a transit out of Aries into the sign of Taurus. So this governs your 9th house of foreign travel. So Virgo, this is a perfect time for you to get out of your normal country, your normal routine. Get your traveling done in the first 3 weeks of April before Mercury goes retrograde, because Mercury is stationed in your house of foreign travel, of education, of philosophies, political views, religion, your belief system. And Mercury entering Taurus will then trine Pluto stationed in Capricorn. The earth signs are then activated like yourself. So Virgo, between your 5th house of children, where you have Pluto, such an intensity there, and the 5th house of creative endeavors with Pluto, maybe some of you lost some of your creative ideas throughout this transit of Pluto in the 5th. There's something about the children and education, because the 5th and 9th house could relate to children going to school abroad, or needing intense education. Could apply there if you want to combine those two facets of the 5th and 9th. It could be that your romance, the 5th house, is best suited outside of your normal country. You meet someone abroad, a foreigner, in the 9th house. Now we have our new moon earlier on the 7th of April. We have our new moon at 18 degrees of Aries, where Venus is stationed in this 8th house. So for those of you Virgos looking for investors, which is the 8th house, looking to have new places to put your money with other people. What is that word? Shared resources, stocks. That's what I'm looking for. When I channel, I lose it. I'm not thinking of normal terminology when I'm in another mode. But the new moon on the 8th, if you want to shift around your money and your resources at that time, perfect new moon to do so. For those of you looking for new intimacies, new sexual partners, because the 8th house is sex. It's not really about the 7th house of committed relationships or the 5th house of lighthearted dating and romance. The 8th house is pretty risque, but it's intimate. You might want to get out and be seen around the time of the new moon if you're looking to establish a connection with someone. This new moon is conjunct Venus and Uranus, and the sun and the moon are there. So this could be a very sudden intimacy. Uranus is very, electric, surprise, not planned. And Venus is there, conjunct the new moon. That's new love. New attraction is the word. On the 17th, Mars makes a retrograde turn. Now this happens once every 2 to 2.5 years. Mars will retrograde. And he's stationed in your fourth house of home, Sagittarius. You have a retrograde Saturn there as well in the fourth house. So some of you Virgoans have been dealing with issues in the home or around the foundation of where you live. And Mars retrograde and a Saturn retrograde is very limiting, very restrictive, and there's a little bit of danger. You know, I hate to be a doomsday predictor, but with Mars conjunct Saturn in your fourth, maybe some of you have had some serious issues around the place you live, the foundation, the environment. Maybe the fourth house of mother has been impacted. But when Mars retrogrades, he starts his retrograde in Sagittarius, and then he retrogrades back to 23 degrees of Scorpio. There's this little squirrel like eating right around me. Again, these little animals like to come around me when I'm in these forecasts. I can see his tail in the shadow behind me. Okay, so Mars retrograding back to 23 degrees of Scorpio will then impact the third house of communications. Watch the tone with Mars in the third house of how you're speaking to people. And even though he's retrograde, there's a lot of energy that's taken away from the third house of siblings, the third house of local errands, travel locally, the vehicle. Watch the vehicle. Mars will retrograde through the 30th of June, though. So he takes his time in a retrograde. It's longer than 3 weeks, like Mercury. Now, Pluto's retrograding as well, a day later on the 18th in this fifth house of children, of fertility, of creative endeavors. It's not a fertile time. It hasn't been, actually, for Virgos with Pluto in the fifth house. For those of you trying, it's a really hard time to conceive. Not for everyone, but Pluto is, draining and loss. It's a depletion in the sector that it falls. So in the fifth house of fertility, you're not getting the best energy there. I have to turn this light off. Give me 1 second, I'll be back. Okay, so on the 19th of April, the Sun enters Taurus like he does every year in this ninth house of education, of foreign travel, of religion, philosophies, certifications, religious beliefs, belief systems. When the Sun is here, it's a great time to travel. But we do have our Mercury retrograde starting on the 28th of April through the 23rd of May, officially clearing his shadow on the 7th of June. So, Mercury retrograding in this ninth house of foreign travel, I absolutely don't advise any Virgos, Virgo rising especially, to leave the country in a Mercury retrograde in the ninth. Now, if you have to do what you have to do regarding work, if this is travel for your job, if you can rearrange a trip that's planned already between that 28th of April through the 23rd of May, I would, only because the ninth house and the third house are really where you don't want Mercury to fall in your sectors if you're traveling in a retrograde. Tremendous delays, technical difficulties, satellite difficulties. Mercury controls all of that. So plan wisely. And also, if it's not affecting your foreign travel, which it's hard not to when Mercury retrogrades in the ninth and you are traveling abroad, but this has everything to do with your education, application for certification. Things like that are tied up, on hold, not received, needing to be done again. So instead of wasting a lot of time, I would just plan for these things when Mercury goes direct or officially clears his shadow on June 7th. I hope I don't look like a ghost right now. It's so bright that I can barely see. Okay, the full moon on the 22nd is here at 2 degrees of Scorpio in your third house of communications. I did the retrograde first just because Mercury is your ruling planet. I wanted to just get that out there. But our full moon brings a culmination in the communication sectors, or maybe an ending to the relationship with a sibling, or the ending of an end to the vehicle, getting the car out and getting something new. Closure with a sibling, closure with a neighbor, neighborhood, closure with the neighborhood, or an ending to a style of communication you're choosing with a sibling. You might set some boundaries with them. On the 29th of April, Venus transits again out of Aries and into Taurus in this ninth house, conjunct the Sun and conjunct the Mercury retrograde. Venus there will help smooth over a little bit for those of you who have to travel in that time period, but it's a tricky little retrograde. Let's get to the cards and see what comes up for Virgo for April 2016. And if you'd like to read with me, I read all through the week, so you can find me at audreyallison.com. This is my job, and this is what I do. I can look at your astrological chart. I do astro readings. I also do psychic tarot readings. I do a combination of the two. So you can find me on audreyallison.com, and I'll get back to you in an email once you select your order via the PayPal button. Okay, Virgo. Here are your cards for April 2016. Judgment. Some of you might be your own worst critic. It's really hard for Virgo not to be overly analytical of the self, because that is your role. Mercury, being your ruling planet, gives you a tremendous amount of insight and a sharp, brilliant mind, but your analysis of others and yourself is over the top. The Moon. Emotional, psychic ability. I want to see what else comes up before I do a summation. Four of Swords. Deep reflection and thought about something. Calming the mind, meditation. If anybody needs some meditation, I think it might be Virgos. And the Four of Wands. Interesting. Four Swords, Four Wands. This is the ceremony. This is the bride and the groom. This is matrimony. It's celebration. You have another card. You have two cards, actually. The World, the goal of your work. Beautiful ending card. Oh. Well, and the Tower. Okay, let's see what these all can mean together. You have four major arcana cards. You have Judgment, the Moon, the World, and the Tower. And then the only two cards that are suit cards are the Four of Swords and then the Four of Wands. So I think that a lot of you Virgoans are emotionally assessing the relationship, the intimate relationship in the 8th house, which is lit up where the new moon is, where Venus enters in the top of the month, the 8th house of intimate connections. The new moon in the 8th. The Mercury retrograde, reevaluating, reassessing, review, revise, rewrite. These are very powerful cards, and there could be a strong change for you. The Tower is breaking of position. It's the eclipse energy that we have in March. On the 23rd and the 8th of March, we had two eclipses, both lunar and full moon. Lunar and solar. So you have the Tower, which is the breaking of position. Maybe your goals have changed. And maybe spirit or people who have passed in the 8th house, meaning death and rebirth and transformation, there might be a calling for you, Virgo, that you're meant to take on. And maybe your priorities are shifting. And that's okay. They can change throughout the course of life. That's what life is. You can't just be the same person you were from the first week you were born. So if the goal of your life is changing, go with the flow of that energy and not against it. Some of you, it's an uncomfortable situation, and this is the eclipses that can eclipse things out of your life, and it's also the retrograde energy. I would ask spirit or people who have passed for help and assistance if you find yourself weary or depleted at this time. But you can really count on this celebration And maybe that's the one thing that's keeping you grounded, the Four of Swords to the Four of Wands. It's the one thing that you can think of in your mind that is working for you. Now, for those of you who aren't in relationship, that card showing up near the World and the Tower is that Uranus energy. The Tower represents Uranus in the tarot. The lightning bolt on the card is the electric energy of Uranus. And Uranus is conjunct Venus and the moon and the sun with that new moon in your 8th house. So there is new intimacy heading for Virgo's way. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you soon. I'm wishing you a beautiful April, and I'm sorry for all of the changes in the video, for stopping and starting. The sun is getting a little crazy, but I'm wishing you a sweet April, and I'll see you next month. Remember, the sky is limitless, so reach for the stars.